back with more Autistic History and the Autism Wars. This is part 5 of a series. So I'm picking up with a letter to the editor that was sent to Chicago Reader and published April 4th, 1991, and it is titled The Monster of the Midway. Again, we are speaking about Bruno Bettelheim and his history, and this letter to the editor is from a self-advocate with lived experience being Bettelheim's patient at his school. So I'm going to share that, and it's by Alida M. Jatic or Yatic, J-A-T-I-C-H. My apologies for not knowing how to pronounce. And again, this was published April 4th, 1991, and it is still available on chicagoreader.com if you want to look it up. This letter is difficult to read and hear, so know that before we get started. It is a lot. So here we go, The Monster of the Midway on chicagoreader.com. Letter to the editor says here, I read with interest Michael Miner's article, The Squib Heard Round the World, Hot Type March 15th, in which he described how the fallout from his brief Bettelheim obituary led to the dismantling of the man's reputation. To our amazement, he writes, our casual little paragraph had more of an effect than anything we had ever written in our life. He is certainly correct. As the writer of the first anti-Bettelheim letter, April 6, 1990, signed, name withheld, I would like to thank the reader for having the courage to print our letters at a time when no other magazine or newspaper would touch the story. Bettelheim's grotesque, unnatural death, unalived, made it possible to call his reputation into question. Were it not for the courage of the Reader editorial staff and their willingness to allow open debate on this issue, I doubt we would have ever been able to get the story out. Free and open debate is the only way to make sense of what happened to me there. One astonishing item that has come to light is the fact that Bettelheim never acquired the credentials to practice in his chosen field. He never obtained a degree in psychology or in medicine. His only PhD was in aesthetics, art history. He never completed a training analysis either in Vienna or in the US, nor did he attend clinical seminars. He was not a member of the Vienna Psychoanalytic Society. He did not study under Sigmund Freud. Bettelheim had absolutely no qualifications to diagnose mental illness or to practice any type of therapy whatsoever. I did not know this, and neither did my parents. He had no right to label me or anyone else emotionally disturbed. We were bullied and intimidated by this expert who was no expert at all. Somehow I had gotten the impression that he had studied under Freud, which was untrue. I could not believe that the University of Chicago would have made him a tenured professor unless he had some qualifications or training in his field. It simply never occurred to me that he had none. A particularly revealing letter in the Reader was signed W.B., a former counselor, July 6, 1990. The writer worked at the orthogenic school in the late 1940s, long before my time. He wrote, by age 22 when I worked there, I had spent fully a third of my life in group living with a variety of youngsters under stress. 4 years in an orphan home, followed by 3.5 years in the wartime army. I understood that the stream of human normality was very wide, and that time healed many wounds without human intervention. It amazed me that Bettelheim, a man from another culture, could look at the same child as I and see a schizophrenic while I saw another rambunctious American kid. Other staffers never had this experience of seeing what normal kids are like when they are being raised in an institution. Therefore, they could not recognize normal kids when they saw them at the orthogenic school. After all, Bettelheim had taught those staffers to misinterpret every aspect of our normal childhood behavior. Every thought, word, and deed was a symptom of disturbance. The staff, in turn, led us to take the same completely negative view of ourselves. I saw myself as nothing more than a collection of problems. Stop and think for a moment about how devastating this is. The success was measured in how much staff could get the kids to change. Trouble is, nobody knew what was normal. Alright, so to my knowledge, none of the staffers were present during my stay, 1966 through 1972. I've come forward to acknowledge that this view was mistaken. Some of these staffers were well-intentioned people who probably liked me after a fashion. This makes their lack of understanding and insight all the more hurtful to me even this day. Many staff members left the orthogenic school during those years, not all of them because of the 100-hour work weeks and poverty level pay. I've heard rumors that some of these people left because they had misgivings about what Bettelheim was doing. Of course, we did not know that at the time. Here again, where are these people now? 1 year later, there still has been no official response from the University of Chicago or from Bettelheim's former colleagues. The Newsweek article of September 10th, 1990 said that there are indications that at least the local psychiatric community knew exactly what was going on and did nothing. Chicago analysts scathingly referred to the doctor as Bruno Bettelheim. Where are these analysts? Why didn't they warn the university and our parents? Why are they still keeping silent? I suspect that the main reason why it's so hard to talk about the Bettelheim tragedy is this. In one way or another, he induced all of us to act in ways that we feel sick to think about now. This includes kids, parents, staff members, students, and faculty at the University of Chicago, colleagues, and so forth. It's so easy to intimidate kids. At the risk of beatings and public humiliation, we all had to go along with Bettelheim's ideology to a large extent. If we didn't, he threatened us with spending our entire lives in an even worse institution where heavy tranquilizers or shock treatments would be used. This caused me to break down under fear and go along with things that were wrong. Okay, I'm going to end this letter here and pick it up again in part 6 of the Autistic History Autism Wars series that I'm posting here on TikTok. So this is lived experience, firsthand experience in the voice of a self-advocate here talking about their history. It's a lot. So see you in part 6.